Hello everybody. Today I am going to solve some numerical question of buoyancy and flotation. Look, I have written a question here. A spherical object of 1.5 meter diameter is completely immersed in a water reservoir and chained to the bottom. If the chain has a tension of 5.5 kN, find the weight of object when it is taken out of the reservoir into the air. So what asks in the question? You have to find the weight of the body so that the body can get rid from the reservoir to the air. So I am simple showing a reservoir and it is a spherical object having diameter 1.5 meter. So then what will be the radius of the spherical object? Will be the half of diameter and we get 0.75 meter as radius. So here look, at bottom the body is restrained by a chain. Chain will produce a tension. The value of tension has given in question 5.5 kilonewton. The direction of the tension will act in downward direction as the body is restrained by the chain, and also weight of the body will act in downward direction. And what will be the direction of buoyancy force? As I told you in my last lecture, that buoyancy force always act in upward direction. And I have also proved the buoyancy force, the value of buoyancy force. It is nothing but the rho W into G into volume displaced volume. It is the weight of displaced fluid. Okay. Then what is the value of rho W? Rho W is the value of density of water. It is in SI unit 1000 kg per meter cube. And value of G is 9.81 meter per second square. And the volume which have been displaced is nothing but the volume of the spherical object itself. Then what is the volume of spherical object? 4 by 3 pi 0.75 whole cube. Then we got the result 17.335 kilonewton, and its direction will be in upward. So just to equate both upward and downward direction forces, we simply write the equation like this. In downward direction, two forces act. One is tension, another is weight of the body itself, and in upward direction only for buoyancy force. So just equate both, we got the result value of weight. Okay, the value of weight of the body. So I think you understood. Now having another example, look the question I have written. A wooden block of width 1.25 meter having depth 0.7 meter and length of the wooden block is 3 meter is floating in water. Specific weight of the wood is 6.4 kilonewton per meter cube. You have to find the volume of the water displaced and position of center of buoyancy. So now look, what are the data given in question? Width of the wooden block, is 1.25 meter and depth also given 0.75 meter, and length of the wooden block meter. Okay. So what will be the volume of the block? This will be 1.25 into 0.75 into 3 meter cube. So this will be 2.812 meter cube. And specific weight of the wood, what is given in question? 6.4 kilonewton per meter cube. Specific weight of the block Six point four. Then what will be the weight of the block? To find weight of the block, you have to multiply specific weight to the volume of the block itself. Then weight of the block will be kilonewton, as because meter cube will be cancelled out, and it will be 17.99 kilonewton. Approximately we can take 18 kilonewton. So in first question which have been asked, volume of water displaced you have to find. So first question has asked to find volume of water displaced. Then what will be the volume of water displaced? Look, for equilibrium, the weight of the water displaced will be equal to the weight of the wooden block. It is the rule of buoyancy. Principle of buoyancy. What is the principle of buoyancy? For equilibrium, the weight of water displaced will be just equal to the weight of the wooden block. And we got the result. Weight of wooden block 18 kilonewton. Then what will be the volume of water displaced? Volume of it will be weight of the water displaced to the weight density of water. Weight of water displaced to the so it will be 18 divided 9.81, as because weight density of water is 9.81 kilonewton per meter cube. So 1.835 kilometer cube will be the volume. So I am writing here weight density of water is 9.81 kilonewton per meter cube. So I am repeat again. The question asked, you have to find volume of water displaced and position of center of buoyancy. So first you have to find out the volume of the block. To find volume of the block, you have to multiply width, depth and length. Then you got the volume. As because specific weight of the wood is given in question, so that just to multiply specific weight to the volume, you will get the weight of the block, and the result was 18 kilonewton. So to find volume of water displaced, you have to just equate the weight of water displaced to the weight of wooden block. So Then what will be the result of volume of water displaced will be nothing but weight of water displaced to the weight density of water. As because we know that weight density of water is nothing but 9.81 kilonewton per meter cube, then you easily find the result of volume displaced. So 1.835 meter cube will be the volume which have been displaced. Now what about second question? Second question asked to find the position of the center of buoyancy. So now I am going to solve the second part of the question, which asks to find the position of center of buoyancy. Now second question, position of center of buoyancy. Okay, so I am simple drawing the block here. What was the height of the block? 0.75 meter height, having width 1.25 meter, and the length was 3 meter. I am assuming that the H part of the body is in water. I am assuming that H height of the body is in water. Okay. So we know volume of wooden block in water, that means this portion of volume which is in water. I am assuming that H height of the body is in water, so that the volume of the body which is in water will be just equal to the volume of water displaced. The amount of water which will displaced will be just equal to the volume of body which is in water. So we know in water it will be equal to the volume of water displaced. Then what will be the volume of the wooden block which is in water? It will be nothing but you have to multiply H to the width to the length, then 1.25 was the width into what is the height H and what is the length 3. It will be equal to the volume of water displaced. So volume of water displaced 1.835 meter cube volume was displaced. Okay, that much volume was, so 1.835 meter cube volume have been displaced. So here H is nothing but the depth of wooden block. In water. Now what will be the result of H then? H will be 1.835 by 1.25 into 3. It will be 0.489 meter. Look, this portion of body is in water and we got the result of H is 0.489. Then what will be the center of buoyancy? It will be just middle of H. Then hence center of buoyancy will be just half of H from bottom. So from bottom to 0.244 meter distance, we will find the center of buoyancy. As it is in floating condition, then center of gravity will be above buoyancy. Center of gravity, as I discussed all about it, stability condition, when body will float, when body will be in stable condition, when body will be in unstable condition. I have discussed all in my last lecture. So just I repeated the question again. The question has asked, you have to find the volume of water displaced and you have to find position of center of buoyancy. So what I have did, I just written down the all data which is given in question. So then you have to find the volume of block. To find volume of block, you have to just multiply with depth and length all, and we got the result of volume. Then as because specific weight also given in question, it is 6.4 kg per meter cube. So to just find the weight of the block, then what we have to do, we have to just multiply specific weight to the volume, and we got the result 18 kilonewton as weight. So weight of the body we find. So we know 18 kilonewton as weight of the body, and the weight of the water displaced will be just equal to the weight of the body that has immersed in water. So then volume of water displaced will be nothing but the weight of water displaced to the weight density of water. Then we got the result. What is the result of volume? Then 1.835 meter cube. That much amount of volume of water have been displaced. Okay. Now what about second part of the question? Second part of the question asked position of center of buoyancy. You have to find position of center of buoyancy. So to find the position of center of buoyancy, I just assuming that each part of the body is in water. So then the part of the body which is water, which is in water, you have to find that volume. So what will be the volume of that part? That part, it 1.25 into h into 3. That part, that portion of the body is in water, and that portion of body will displace same volume of water. Then it will be 1.835, and in this way we find the value of h. So to find the volume, to find the center of buoyancy, I just divided by h by 2. I just divided h by 2. As we know that center of buoyancy will be the centroid of the displaced volume of water. So that much volume of water has been displaced. Then center of buoyancy will be at middle of that height. So we got the result. Okay, we got the result. So now I am going to start new chapter, which is fluid kinematics. So what is fluid kinematics? Actually, fluid kinematics deals with the study of velocity and acceleration of the particles of fluid in motion and their distribution in space without considering any force or energy involved. So basically, the motion of fluid particles may be described by the following methods. One is Lagrangian method, another is Euler method. So in Lagrangian method, in this method the observer concentrates on movement of a single particles. That's mean this method is talking about single particles. We have to take a single particles and you have to study the all motion of that particle. So in the Cartesian system, the position of the fluid particles in space x, y, z at any time t from its position ABC at time t is equal to 0. So like x, it has function, space function and time function, y, z. So what will be then velocity component? U is equal to del x del t, v will be del y del t, w is equal to it is very easy chapter, w is equal to del z del t. And what will be the acceleration component? That will be just what is acceleration? Acceleration nothing but the
change of velocity with respect to time. So here we got the result of acceleration. So now to get the resultant velocity, we have to just, what we have to do, that thing is that we have to square root of each component, square of each component, summation of square of each component, and it will be the square root of summation of square of each component. What will be the resultant acceleration then? Ax square x, ay square y, a x square z. Okay, a square y. Okay, so now in Eulerian method, we do not concentrate with the motion of each particle, but we study the general state of motion at various points in the fluid system. So in case of u, u having function x, y, z, t, v having function, and to get the to find out the acceleration, as we know that du will be, we can write du in this way. Du will be del y, del u, del x dot dx, del u, del y dot dy, del u, del z dot dz, del u, del t dot dt. We can write in this way. And what will be then ax? Ax will be just ddu of dt. So in this way we got the result ax is equal to du dt. And as we know that dx dt is nothing but u, dy dt is nothing but v, and du dz nothing but w. So we get this result. And similarly, to find out the resultant, we have to just do same. Okay. Now look, next, types of fluid flow. It is most important, as because so many questions in exam asked from this portion. So first, steady flow. So what is steady flow? This type of flow in which the fluid characteristics such as velocity, pressure, density at any point do not change with time. That's mean if I'm taking u, del t in any position will not be will be 0. That's mean there will be no changes with respect to time. Similarly, we can write del v, del t, x, y, z will be 0. No changes will be there. Del w, del t, x, y, z will be 0. Similarly, we can write del p, p for pressure, del t, x, y, z will be 0. Okay. Then unsteady flow. What is unsteady flow? In this type of flow in which the velocity, pressure, density at any point change with respect to time. That's mean that will not be constant. So it all be not equal to 0. That's mean there will be some changes with respect to time. Changes with respect to time. Okay. So next, uniform and non-uniform flow. Next, uniform flow. What is uniform flow? This type of flow in which the velocity at any given time does not change with respect to space. So we can write the type of flow in which the velocity at any given time does not change with respect to space is called uniform flow. So mathematically what we can write, del v, that's mean velocity, will not change respect to space, where t is constant, will be 0. That's mean there will be no changes. Another non-uniform flow. It is that type of flow in which the velocity at any given time changes with respect to space. Okay, so we can write then dv dx will not be 0. Okay, now one dimensional flow. What is about one dimensional flow? Look, this is the type of flow in which what will happen, the flow parameters such as velocity is the function of time and one space coordinate only. That's mean velocity will be a function of time and one space coordinator only. So mathematically we can write u will be something like only one coordination and v, where v will be 0 and w will be 0. So in language what we can write, it is that type of flow in which the flow parameter such as velocity is a function of time and one space coordinate only. Okay, understood? Then two-dimensional flow. Obviously you can predict in two-dimensional flow in which the flow is a function of time and two rectangular space coordinate. Two means it also one will be x and another will be y. So two-dimensional flow. In case of two-dimensional flow, what will be in case of two-dimensional flow? The flow in which The velocity function velocity is a function of time and two rectangular space coordinate. That means we can simply write that u will be fy x y. There will be exist v will be f2 x y, and so v will be f1 x y, u will be f1 x y, v will be f2 x y, and w will be 0. Okay, so it is the condition of two-dimensional flow. So in case of three-dimensional flow, what will be? In case of three-dimensional flow, so it is that type of flow in which the velocity is a function of time and three mutually perpendicular direction. So we can write it is that type of flow in which the velocity is a function of time and three mutually perpendicular direction. Okay, then u will be f1 x y z, v will be f2 x y z, w will be f3 x y z. Next, coming rotational and irrotational flow. Rotational and irrotational flow. So what is rotational flow? Most important, a flow is said to be rotational if the fluid particles while moving in the direction of flow rotate about their mass center. So a flow is said to be rotational if the fluid particle particles while moving in the direction of flow rotate about their mass center. Okay, so as an example we can write motion of liquid in a rotating tank. So then irrotational flow. What is irrotational flow? A flow is said to be irrotational if the fluid particles while moving in the direction of flow do not rotate about their mass center. So it is just opposite of rotational flow. A flow is said to be irrotational if the fluid particles while moving in the direction of flow do not rotate about their mass center. So, like an example, flow above a drain hole of a stationary tank. Like an example, flow above a drain hole of a stationary tank. Okay, understood? Then most important type of flow is laminar flow and turbulent flow. So look, what is laminar flow? Laminar flow. What is laminar flow? So we can say that a laminar flow is one in which path taken by the individual particles do not cross one another and moving along well-defined paths. That means if I assuming that a fluid has infinite layer, then one layer will not intersect another. Okay, so a laminar flow is one in which paths taken by the individual particles do not change, do not cause one another, and move along well-defined path. Okay, like an example, groundwater flow. Okay, so then what will be then turbulent flow? The definition of turbulent flow, like a turbulent flow is that type of flow in which fluid particles move in zigzag way. That means they will just cross one another. So just opposite of laminar flow. So what will be turbulent flow? What will be then turbulent flow? So we can write a turbulent flow is that flow in which fluid particles move in a zigzag way. Okay, so like an example, high velocity flow in a conduct of large size. Okay, so laminar and turbulent flow are characterized on the basis of Reynolds number. So on the basis of Reynolds number we can write, if Re is Reynolds number, if Reynolds number is less than 2000, then we can say that it's laminar. If Reynolds number is greater than 4000, okay, so it will be turbulent. If Reynolds number in between 4000 and 2000, then it will be maybe laminar or turbulent. So all the cases is in pipe condition, when flow is in pipes. Okay, so from next class I will continue. So if you like my video, then do subscribe and share. Thank you.